Well, hello, all you Rainbow Warriors, and welcome to another edition of Wednesdays with MrTieDye. I, of course, am MrTieDye. So today I'm doing another design from my meditations. I sat down trying to figure things out a couple days in a row, and then finally something just come to me. It's just another one of my random designs. So maybe that's all it was just a picture of my brain, and I'm going to try to play with it, but mostly I'm going for randomness. So you guys will see all that in a minute. But while we let more people join in here, I'm just going to go ahead and do a quick thank you to some new members that signed up for my channel this week. So we had Robin, Susan, and Nancy. So thank you for signing up. Namaste. Much gratitude to you guys. I appreciate all the support I get to help me continue doing these videos. And then donations on last week's chat video, we had 2 super chats. So thank you, Home Mycology and Uniquely Yours. I definitely appreciate all of the support that I get. And the other way that you guys can support me, if you guys are not subscribed, I ask that you subscribe to my channel, because it's going to give you notifications of when I have a new video up, whether it's a live one or I'm going to start putting up new videos, recorded ones. But also it just helps my channel be found easier. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, and then just like and share my videos around. That's a great support. And the other thing, if you want to support me financially, then you can sign up to be a member of my channel. There's not a whole lot of perks. There's just a lot of light and love that I send out to you guys on a daily basis. So anyways, let's go ahead and get started here. Oh, I see that, let's see, I think, yeah, my mom's in the house. Hi, Mom. Nice to see you. And Julie is not currently in Corvallis. She is in Wyoming with her family. So, but she is going to join us from there. I talked to her a few minutes ago. She said it might take her just a few minutes to get on, but she will be here, and she'll try to start capturing some of those questions. I will be doing the question and answer session once I start the auction section, and then continue after that. One thing that makes it easier for Julie to know that you're asking a question of me is if you put your question in all caps. That makes it easier for her to find the questions, and then she'll copy and paste them and get them sent off to me. So hopefully that whole system works. She'll message me on Facebook. So okay, so let's see here. So we got a tapestry. I soaked this one in soda ash. I spun it out, and then since I'm doing an Incline Ice Dye, I've had some troubles with not getting quite enough saturation on the bottom side. I've had to touch it up just a little bit here and there. So what I'm going to try this time is I hung this tapestry up to dry. So it'll make it a little bit more difficult to fold, but since I'm doing kind of a random design here, it doesn't really matter how precise I am. So anyways, I'm hoping that that's going to help with my saturation issue, but we'll just try it out and see. So what I've done to start with is I put a X on my tapestry. Normally I will fold this in half and in half, so basically in quarters, to find the exact center of the tapestry, which I believe probably is somewhere around here. But I didn't want this one to be in the center. I wanted it to be just a little bit off center. So that's what I did, is I just put let me get this inside the box here. There we go. So I just put a little X at the point where I want my center to be. So it's just a little bit off of the middle of the actual tapestry here. So we're just going to go for that way. So I'm just going to kind of randomly fold this up and get my X in the port where I want it. So, and I'm not actually folding this in exact nice pieces either. Like I said, I want this to kind of be a random design. My plan is to have some universal help here. Oh, I didn't plug in my mic. Maybe you guys might hear me better if I plug the mic in here. Okay, so I don't know if that made a difference in the sound here or not, but we're going to try that and see. So anyway, so I'm not folding this exactly in half. I'm folding it kind of according to my little X there. So just putting the center of my design off up into to the left of the mark, or to the right of the mark of the middle. If that makes sense. Sorry, I'm kind of rambling today. So there, so it's not a nice pretty fold, but like I say, I wanted just a lot of randomness to this, so I'm not being perfectly neat and smoothing everything out. I want it to kind of be kind of bunchy here, and I'm just going to kind of pleat up all the way around here. I kind of did a little bit of one of these, but I just folded it in half and I pleated up and around. And then I also did the rainbow stars a couple weeks ago, and I kind of played with laying my colors in lengthwise to hopefully get my rainbow to come down, and they kind of all blended together. So today I'm going to try using just the primary colors and see if we can get a nice rainbow streaky effect coming down towards the middle. And I'm going to try to leave a little bit of white in the middle, but we're just going to go with whatever happens here. So I'm just going to kind of go for it here and start pleating this up. Like I say, we're just going to do some random pleating on this. And I'm pleating a whole bunch of extra fabric because I want my part, once I'm tying it up, I want it to be nice and wide so I can have plenty of room to lay my colors in there. So that's why you're going to see me just kind of randomly pleating this thing up all over the place here. I'm not following any sort of a guideline here, and you can see that my edges aren't lined up. And anyways, total randomness from the universe. That's what we're going for. So I'm just going to do some pleats, and I'll probably do some of them kind of a scrunch pleat. You can see I'm not even nice and neatly pleating this. I'm going to have some nice and neat. Some are going to be the kind of zigzag where I come pleat back and forth. I'm just trying to create a lot of space on here, get this as wide as I can, just so that when I lay my dyes in there, they kind of lay the way I want them to. So that's what we're doing here. And I think I need to do a little bit shorter pleats just so that I get more space. So I'm just going to kind of repleat this, but a little bit shorter. So how's everybody doing out there? I see some people talking about the hot weather. We got a little bit of heat going on here in Oregon. Got a nice blue sky going on out there. I don't currently have the air conditioning on because it kind of makes noise in the background over there, but I'll probably turn that on as soon as I'm done with this video. But luckily I got my tank top on, and I seen some comments on the Teach piece. That's one that I tie-dyed the t-shirt, and then I used thick dye to paint the Teach piece on. If anybody's asking about that, just used thick black dye and dye painted that. Okay, that's looking a little bit better there. Just getting a little bit more of a width here. That's what I'm going for, is just kind of a wide bunch of fabric there. Oh, it looks like somebody says they have snow. Where are you at? Let's see, actually not that humid here for a change. That's nice. Can't read all of the comments here, but I'll try to keep up with what I can. And then, like I say, Julie will join us later, and once she joins us, then you guys can ask some questions. I won't be answering them right away, but she will at least start gathering the questions up, and then she can send them to me to answer for you guys a little bit later here. Okay, so there is my pleat job. Like I say, it's not neat by any fashion, but this time I was going for more randomness than anything else. Sometimes I like to have the universe play its hand in my tie-dyes. You know, sometimes I place the wrong color someplace, or just have an extra splash of dye or something, and I just love to have the universe. Well, this time I'm kind of depending on the universe to really help me out, because this is just going to be a complete random. And then with the Incline Ice Dye, we're going to have the dyes running through the fabric. So we'll just go for it and see what happens here. Okay, so now I'm going to try to lay some of these pleats out in here just to kind of get this nice and neat. Well, as neat as random can be, but that way the dye will kind of flow down through there. Let's see. Can't quite read the comments from here, so every now and then one comes into focus for me. I live in Hawaii, but it's still hot. Yay, AC. Yes, AC is nice. The tie-dye ramble. Yep, that's what it is. I do that sometimes. I get lost in thought and everything just kind of pours out. Alright, so I got some extra pleats put in here, so now I'm just going to wrap up a little bit more of this. And then we're going to pleat some more here. So really I'm just trying to get this here to lay down so that when I put my dyes on here and they're going to start running through these random channels here and down to this point, and my hope is that I have just a little bit of a white spot left here, but I'm going to be happy with whatever comes out of this. And then, as you guys know, or some of you know, I have two of the Mayan sunrise tapestries. So, and there was a request for me to auction both of those off today. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll auction off the one that I actually dyed during last week's video first. So that'd be Mayan sunrise number 1. And then the Mayan sunrise number 2 is the one that I actually tied during the video, but I dyed it, I think, on Friday afterwards because it needed to sit and dry first. So, and that's what I would probably do with this one normally, is I would tie it up damp, and then I would let it dry before I actually dyed it. But since we're doing this live, and I didn't get in Monday and tie up a tapestry because I didn't get the idea until this morning, I just went for a dry tapestry, which, like I say, it's a little bit harder to fold it. The pleats don't want to lay kind of as nice and neatly, but it's still manageable. But if you guys are going to do this one, you could fold it up damp, tie it up, and then set it aside to dry for a couple days and avoid some of this extraness of the dry fabric not wanting to do what you want it to do. Let's see. I always work during your live feed, so I'm hiding in the bathroom for a few minutes back to work. I was wondering though, do you make your own soda ash or do you buy it? I buy my soda ash, but you can make it. I do have a video, my how to mix or make soda ash, and I do give the instructions on how to heat the baking soda to turn it into soda ash. But they're just the directions that I got off of the Paula Birch site. So you can either refer to my video or you can refer to the Paula Birch site on how to make soda ash. And I was going to try to do an official test, but I kind of mixed up the t-shirts and then I couldn't tell them apart afterwards. So the t-shirt that I soaked in the baking soda ash that I made came out just as good as the soda ash that I had from Dharma and the soda ash that I had from the pool store. So all of those worked. I think personally it's easier to just buy the soda ash, but I know some places they don't have easy access to it. I just went down to my local pool supply store and they had it in stock there. I bought a 50-pound bag for $30. But if you can't get soda ash, then making it yourself is the next best thing. And I also see some people commenting, the Arm & Hammer laundry booster is soda ash. Sometimes it's called washing soda. The main thing is, if you're unsure, is just look on the label and it should tell you that it's 100% soda ash or sodium carbonate. If it doesn't say that on the side, then I'd be a little bit leery about whether it was soda ash or not. But I think the washing soda and Where did I see that at? Oh, the Arm & Hammer Laundry Booster is soda ash, somebody said. And I've also heard people using a product called pH Up. That's probably for swimming pools also. But usually I think you find it in a department store is what I've seen somebody's post. But I'm not positive. I haven't used that one either. Okay. So I got my pleats done here, and now I'm just going to take the center spot where I want to possibly have some white left in there, and I'm just going to kind of scrunch it up just to add some extra detail. If dye does get down to this spot, then we'll just have a little extra randomness as it flows into the center here. But I'm going to scrunch that, so I kind of pulled the fabric all out so it wasn't folded anymore, and now I'm just going to kind of lay that back down flat as I can and scrunch it up and then tie that off tight. And then I'll go ahead and probably wrap some tin foil around that just to block me from putting any ice on there. Okay, and now all this top mess here, I'm just kind of flattening some of this out here, and then I'm just going to lay it down along the sides here and just kind of extend out my area for laying dye. So, and this is something you could just kind of bunch this up if you wanted to. I've just chosen to lay mine down. Once again, I'm just kind of going with the flow of the moment here and going with the randomness of the universe. You guys said you like to see experiments, so when I don't come up with an official idea, then I go with my experimental ideas. And that's just what this one felt like. I don't know, sometimes my ideas that come to me in meditation, they feel different. Sometimes I feel like I almost have instructions come to me on how to do something, and other times I have just kind of a picture come to me. And that's what this one was just kind of a picture. So I'm just kind of playing with it however I see fit. And sometimes that's how you discover something new, is just by having an idea. Sometimes if you have that thought, I wonder what would happen if. I recommend if you get one of those thoughts that you go ahead and try that thing. Whatever came to you, the wondering, you should just give that a try, because you never know what kind of a design might just come of that. So that's my advice anyway, my 2 cents. That's what I've done, is if I get those ideas, then I go forward with them and I test them out. Main thing is to kind of try to either take notes, which I used to do that extensively back in the day when I was learning tie-dye. I took notes on how things were folded, how I dyed them, so that if I did like the results, then I could reproduce them later. Okay, I lost my end here. Let's see if I can find it, or if we'll just... Oh, there it is. Okay, I think we're about ready here. I'll tie this off, and then I'm going to wrap it with tin foil, and then I'm going to start laying my dye on. Like I say, I'm going to lay my color on going across here, and then hopefully the primaries are going to combine into some rainbow colors, and we're going to get some nice effects in this. But regardless of how it turns out, I will be sharing the results, because that's what I do. Okay, and I like use my cuticle pusher to help me sometimes adjust pleats and stuff. It allows me, since it has a nice smooth edge on here, it allows me to kind of press down in there and move the fabric around without possibly tearing into the fabric. So that's what I'm doing here. And what I'm doing when I say adjusting pleats, sometimes I have a pleat that is laying over top of other pleats. and sometimes then that can act like a umbrella and block the dye from getting down into that spot, and you lift it up and then you have a white spot underneath there. So any parts where I see like it looks like fabric is laying over top of other places, I like to try to straighten that out just by tucking that down in deeper in there. So as long as Saucy Mare hasn't hidden my cuticle pusher on me, it allows me to keep working here. And it looks like Julie is in the house. Let me see, it says she messaged me. Okay. Yeah, so we'll be getting to some of those questions. She just sent me questions there through Facebook. So that looks like that's working well. That's nice that she can be in Wyoming but still help out here in the chat room. Keep me up to date on the questions you guys are asking. And as I have the opportunity, I will be going in and answering those questions. But we're just about ready to start wrapping this one up for some dye. So we're going to get going on that. So let me get my tin foil here. Oh, and the first thing I want to do, before I forget, I'm going to block this off here because I don't want to put any ice on there, and I'm not putting any dye down there. I'm going to try to leave a little bit of white down there. So now, of course, the dye can still run through the fabric, and if that happens and gives me a nice effect but no white, that's going to be fantastic. But this is just my way of trying to block that off so I don't put any dye or any ice in that area there. But you guys can certainly, if you were doing one of these and you want to put dye all the way down, that's perfectly fine. You can experiment however you like. I'm just showing you how I'm experimenting. I put tin foil around this here. Just it's how I build my wall up to hold my ice in place so it doesn't fall off. Some people use cardboard, or they use like the what are they called? The baseboards, the plastic baseboards that you can buy in a roll. I've seen people use that before. You know, the vertical blinds that hang down that come in like 4-inch wedges. I've seen people use that for wrapping around. I just happen to like tin foil because I can kind of mold it into place where I want it. But really it's just about getting something wrapped around so that your ice doesn't slide off when you're stacking it up. But I've also seen people that they'll just take and they'll just lay their cubes on and stack up just a couple layers, and that's perfectly fine too. You don't have to build a wall. This is just my preference here, because then it allows me to just kind of pour my ice cubes in there. Okay. And then I always try to make sure that I don't cover up the bottom too much, because I want to be able to lift this up and look underneath later on to make sure that I have good saturation. If I do, once the ice melts, I lift up and I look, and if there's not good saturation, I usually will do one of three things. I'll either put more dye and ice on the top side and also more soda ash and just let it continue to push the dye through. Sometimes I'll go ahead and flip it over and add just a little bit of dye to the bottom side, some more soda ash and more ice, and let it do its thing. And the other thing I'll do, if I have just little spots that need a little bit of extra color, Sometimes I'll just take some liquid dye and just add that into the spots there and see if that takes care of my issue of having not quite enough color on the bottom. There's other times where I just kind of go for it. I'll just open it up however it is, and I have had some pretty good results. Even though the bottom to me didn't look like it had enough color on it, once you open it all the way up, then it still looked great. So anyway, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to lay my colors on. I'm going to use just my primary colors, and I'm going to put strips on going this way here so that hopefully it creates a rainbow as it goes down. So I'm going to put on my mask. This here is the mask that I use. It's got these filters here on the side. I know these are hard to come by right now, but if you still want to do ice dye and you don't have one of these, I still recommend that you wear some sort of a face mask just to keep the dye particles out of your nose. You don't want to be breathing these. So I have my 3 primary colors. I have turquoise, I have fuchsia, and lemon yellow. So those are going to be the dyes that I add on here. I'm going to just use the old spoon method. There's lots of different ways that I've seen people talk about how they add their dyes on there. The spoon method is what I like. And since I'm laying my dyes on this way, I'm also going to use my little shield here where I can kind of put that on, sprinkle some dye on here, and kind of create a line there. And then I can move this over and create another line of dye in there. So it's just a piece of plastic that I've just cut, put a couple little finger holds on there so I can keep a hold of it. And that's what we're going to do. So I'm explaining all this ahead of time because once I put my mask on, you can't really hear me. I already did the "Luke, I am your father" last time, so I don't know if I'll be doing that again this time, but who knows? Maybe I will, just because I like to have fun. Okay, so here we go. I'm putting my mask on, and then we're going to start adding some dye to this. Oh, let me first off lay my rack out here. Might as well just put it right on the rack. Oh, well, let's just put it right in the tub. There, I think that still works. You guys should be able to see that fine. Okay. Yeah, I think that'll work perfect. Okay, here we go. But you guys will have to entertain yourself now. And I have a clean spoon here. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and overlap some of the fuchsia here so that I hopefully will create a little bit of orange, and I'm going to bring my yellow over here. So I'm going to lay some right there on that edge.
Okay. Luke, I am your father.
There you go. Okay, so I put a channel of fuchsia in here, overlapped a little bit of the fuchsia with my yellow, overlapped a little bit of the yellow with my green, or my turquoise, and then I put just a little bit of turquoise over on this edge to give me my purple over there. And then as you can see, I've left some white spot here, which that of course is going to be filled up, and I'm just not sure just how far down it's going to go. Like I say, I'm hoping to have white here, but whatever happens is what's going to happen. So next thing, I'm going to sprinkle some soda ash in there. Yeah, I knew that would make somebody happy out there. I think I had a few requests for that last time too. One thing about buying the soda ash from the pool supply stores, you get big chunks of it that have to be broken up, which that's not a problem, but it can be just a little bit of a pain sometimes when you want to sprinkle just a little bit of soda ash. Okay, I think we're going to call that good. And then I'm going to add some ice to this, and then we're going to get going on the auction and the questions and answers. I think Julie already has some questions built up for me. And like I say, these plastic trays here, this here is just one of my things I make my stencils out of. They're just the cutting boards from the dollar store. You get a pack of 2 in there. They're 11 by 14 inches. So I use them to make my stencils, but then the little pieces I can use for doing stuff like this, and then wash them and use them again. Hole in my bag. So I don't know if that'll work or not, but I'm going to try to block the ice from kind of going down here. I just want to put it up here where I have my dye. So I'll just use that little barrier and see if that works or not. If I had thought about it, I could have probably made a smaller one that would fit in there better, but we'll see how it works. Like I say, I love to experiment and just try new things out. And sometimes I come across some cool stuff that way. I do try to pass the tips and tricks on to you guys whenever I come across them. Okay, I think that should be enough ice. One more piece, there we go. And then one of the things I use to give me my incline, I just fill up a couple of these 32-ounce bottles with water to make them heavy, and then that way I can lift my rack up and just stick these bottles under there, so that stays up there at a nice angle there. So that should give me just what I want there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and set this over on the counter, and then we'll get on to the Q&A and the auctions. And then, like I say, after the ice melts, then I batch my tapestry for 48 hours. I'll usually go ahead and put it in the, put a lid on that tub, and then I set that out in the sun so that it gets extra heat on there. For me, I like to have the extra heat and the full 48 hours for doing my batching. I think it allows the dyes more time to bond, and then it also, by the time I'm doing my washout, most of the dyes are spent, so there's less of a chance for back staining then. So anyways, those are a couple reasons why I batch for 48 hours and with heat. Okay, so I got this closer here, and well, I guess let me break out the tapestries. So we're going to start the auction, and then I will get in and start answering the questions. So this here is the one that I actually tied this one up on Monday and then let it dry for a couple days. And then I dyed this one during the video that you guys watched on this last Wednesday. So this here is the Mayan Sunrise #1. Oh, also, if you want to see the whole tapestry, I know it's a little difficult sometimes to see the whole tapestry here on this live stream, just because I don't have space to open it all the way up. But if you want to see the whole thing, I put launch links in the chat box there. You can click on that, and the second link is my tapestry album for my Wednesday tapestries. And this one here is Mayan Sunrise #1. It's got more orange in it and more purple. The other one, I'll just do a little quick peek. I put purple on it, but then I covered that up with cobalt, so it's more in the blue tones, but I also didn't put quite as much of the orange in there. So it's got little highlights of orange, but this one here has got really nice orange in there and really nice purple, and then it's got some nice browns where the purple and the orange and the yellow all touched. So let's see, we got an opening bid of $50 from Tie-Dyed One, so thank you. And like I say, there's the center of the tapestry. This here would be the sun, the Mayan sun. So we're going to go ahead and let that run, and I'm going to peek in some, let's see, we got some questions over here. Let me get back here. Okay, here we go. Halloween. Somebody asked about Halloween products. If you're talking about Halloween designs, I do have a Halloween playlist. So if that's what you're referring to, let me grab that playlist here. Okay, so here's my Halloween playlist. So if that's what you were looking for, is designs to do for Halloween, then that should hook you right up. Those are the ones I've done so far, and if I come up with any others, then I will add them into this list here. Let me take a quick peek. Okay, we still have just a $50 bid for the Mayan Sunrise. See, how would I wring out soda ash from the fabric without a washing machine? The way that I used to do it is just squeeze it with my hands, and I would just try to put as much pressure. You don't want to do too much twisting because you can start breaking the fabric fibers in there, but you can kind of wad it up and just give it just a little bit of a twist and just kind of squeeze that as much as you can with your hands. And then if you want it to be damper, less wet, you can hang that up to let it dry some more. That's what I had done with this other tapestry. I spun it out so it was barely damp, but then I hung it up so that it dried out completely. Another thing that people have used is a mop bucket wringer. that you usually, you've seen those that the janitors wheel around. People have bought those ringers brand new or sometimes used and cleaned them up, and then you put your tapestry in there or your fabric, and you can use that to squeeze out, and it's not as hard on your hands. And then if you have the extra money and you want to buy one, Amazon has the spin dryers where it's just a portable spin thing, and I'm not sure how much fabric you can pack in there, but I think I've seen them around $130 to $150, and I've heard from a few dyers that they use them and they like them. So those are some other options. But you don't have to. Like I say, I did tie-dye for many years before I learned the trick about doing the spin out in the washer. I just wrung things out by hand. So that's still perfectly okay. So let me pop back over to the window. We had a $55 bid from Gwen, and then a $60 bid from Tie-Dyed One. So okay. So now I'm going to click back over. I got to jump back and forth because my questions, Julie's putting those over on Facebook for me. Let's see. Amy said, dang it, I have a stitch design batching. I didn't cuticle pusher the folds. Now I'm worried. Oh, it's not that crucial. I mean, it's something that I just try to straighten out. But you don't have to, it's not a big critical thing. But if you wanted to just check to make sure, you could bring that design back in and just use your cuticle pusher or whatever, and just kind of, if you look at it and you see that it looks like there's some fabric folded over, you can just lift that up. And if you see some white, you could even just add just a little bit of dye down there. So it's never too late. As long as you haven't rinsed out the soda ash, you can always still add more dye to your project, but just go sparingly with it, because when you add dye, it's going to go in and spread some, because once it starts batching, then the liquid kind of all equalizes in there, and when you add more new liquid to it, it's going to start spreading. So add the liquid slowly, and don't try to get every single white spot, because once you add just a little bit, it's going to spread out in there. But you should be fine. But yes, I know what you mean. With the stitch designs, you have a lot of work into them, and you don't want to see something go haywire with that. Okay, let me check the auction real quick. Okay, we're still sitting at $60 for Mayan Sunrise #1. Okay. I use RIT dye. Is that good? Can you test RIT dye for me? I've never used the RIT dye, and it's something that at some point I might try it out just because, but I've seen a lot of results from RIT. I'm not going to say RIT is a bad dye. I'm just saying that Procyon is a better dye. It's going to give you more, it's going to give you brighter, darker colors than what the RIT can achieve. But if you're just practicing and you want to try it out, you can certainly use RIT to kind of practice and see if it's something that if tie-dye is something you even enjoy. So it's not a bad thing. It's just doesn't produce as bright of colors. If you want brighter colors, then my recommendation is to step up. And if you don't want to go all the way into the Procyon dyes, you can step into the tulip dyes, and that will improve your colors some. But if you want to get the really nice bright colors, then stepping into the Procyon dyes is going to be your best bet. But yes, I say if you're using RIT dye and you're happy with how the results are, then continue using them. Okay, let me check again. I don't see any more bids. I'm going to let this run for just another couple minutes, and then we're going to close this out. I don't know if you guys are waiting for the other one to bid, but if anybody else wants to place a bid, go ahead and get them in now for this Mayan Sunrise #1. I do see a question, is that the Tapestry? Yes, this is the one that I'm auctioning off. This is the one that we dyed up last Wednesday on the show. And these are the Sunshine Joy tapestries. They are about 54 by 56 inches. They have the little loops on the corners for hanging them, and the top and bottom have a nice hemmed edge, and the other two sides have the nice finished salvage edge. So these are my tapestry of choice right now, the ones I've been using a lot. Okay, let me go back and answer some more questions. He already soaked in soda ash and he sprinkled again with ash. Is that just to grab the color better? It's just to make sure that I don't dilute the soda ash too much with the amount of ice that I use. I'm still, even though I've been doing the ice dyeing for a couple of years, I still feel like I'm kind of new to it because mostly I do liquid dyes. But the soda ash needs to be a certain level. It should be, you know, when you mix 1 cup into 1 gallon, it makes it 10.6 to 11.0. That's an optimum dyeing range for the soda ash. But if you add too much ice to it, which I don't know how much is too much, then it can dilute the soda ash, which then takes the dye bonding down a notch. So then your dyes aren't going to bond quite as well. So me sprinkling a little bit of extra soda ash on top is my just making sure that I have good colors come out of it. So I know some people, they just soak it and do ice dyes. I'm not saying that anybody's wrong or right. I'm just showing you how I do it and trying to explain why I do what I do. And at some point I might learn that I don't need to do that, or maybe I don't need to soak it in soda ash. I can just sprinkle some on. You know, as I learn more, then I will kind of put that out there to you guys. But right now, this is what I know, so I'm just going for it. All right, let's take another peek. Okay, I don't see any more bids for Mayan Sunrise #1. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out in about 1 minute. So go ahead and get your bids in if you want to get in on this one. I'm going to answer one more question, then I'm going to close this. Let's see. Oh, and Julie says the Rainbow Warriors are so welcoming and helpful, really showing up today. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you, guys. I couldn't keep track of all the chatting, but Julie was able to see that, and we both appreciate when you guys are willing to help other people out. That's what I want to see in the world, so that's why I help out, is because if you want, let's see, be the change you wish to see in the world. So I wish to see people helping people, so I am here helping you guys. How about that? Peace, love, light, and laughter to you guys all. Jewel says Pro Chemical has lots of dyes in. Okay, that's good to know, because I know some places they are having shortages. So Pro Chemical, or Pro Chem, is, I think I've heard it referred to. I believe they're in Massachusetts. So if you guys are having trouble finding dyes, the Procyon dyes, you might try with Pro Chem and see if they have the colors you're looking for. Brian asks, how long can you batch for? Is 4 days too long? No, you can batch for as long as you want to. I have done some tie-dye before, right before I went on vacation, so they batched for, I think, more than a week. When I got home, I didn't get right in and wash them because we were doing other things. So they sat for probably 2 weeks before I opened them up. Now, if you use urea in your dyes, when you open the bag or the lid, you're going to get an ammonia smell, because that means that the urea has, I don't want to say gone bad, but it will break down and it will give you an ammonia smell. So if you do use urea in your dyes and you batch for a longer period of time, just be aware that that ammonia smell is normal. You might open your things up outside so that the ammonia smell doesn't fill your house. It fills up outside and dissipated. Then you come in and you rinse it and everything is great. So 4 days is definitely not too long. I say go for it. Okay, I'm going to take one peek and then we're going to close this bidding out. Let me see. Tie-dyed 1 is the high bid right now. I see it's 60. I don't see any other bids in there. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and close this one out. So $60 going once. And I see Travel JoJo's asking, where do you bid? You bid right in the chat box. So where you typed your question at is where you place your bid at. Yes, it is quite warm up here. I'm sweating just a little bit and trying to stay hydrated by drinking some of this nice cool ice water. Let's see. Okay, oh, we were closing this out. Okay, so $60 going twice. And if I do have a bid come in, then I will go ahead and leave this open for another minute or two. So I just want to make sure you guys had plenty of time to do your bids if you want to. So $60 going 3 times. Oh, thank you, Caden. I love you too. I love everybody. Hugs all around. What's the full tapestry look like? Okay, so the center has got the sun in it, and then we got these little jags coming off here, little beams. So I got this one, kind of oval shaped beam coming off, and then these other little ones coming off. But if you want to see the whole thing, you can click into my launch links. There, I think it's the second link in there. I just put it in the chat box. The second link in there is the album where I put all my Wednesday tapestries, and I put the 2 Mayan sunrises up at the top of that album. So okay, so I still don't see any new bids in here, so we're gonna go. Did I do 3 times? I think I did. So we're gonna say sold at $60 to tie-dyed 1. So there's another one for your collection. Congratulations. And as always with shipping, your total is going to be $67. So you can go into my launch links and pay like you did last time, I believe. If I sent you an invoice last time, just let me know and I'll send you a good one, another one for this one later. But congratulations and thank you for bidding. So we're going to move this one off to the side, and we're going to go with Mayan Sunrise number 2. Just because I said I would auction both of these off. So we're going to open this one up. It's fairly similar. Like I say, if you go over to the album, you can look at them side by side, and you can see that they're pretty close. I was able to tie them up pretty close to the same. They're just little differences. But then I did dye this one a little bit differently. So I didn't add as much orange in there, and then I did put cobalt over top of the purple. So there is still purple highlights in here, but there's also the blue colors. And then I also added this one here. You can see my lines are nice and clean. That's because I only put dye out here. I didn't put any dye other than the yellow and the orange over top here. On this one here, I wanted to have it look just a little bit differently. So I did my yellow and a little bit of orange on there, but then at the very end, I went ahead and I put cobalt over the whole thing. And I did make a video of that. I need to get it edited. I figured I would even take that live video of how I folded it and then splice that together if possible and put that in there, upload that as a whole video for the Mayan sunrise. So that will be coming soon and you'll see just how I dyed it, but that's why you can see the darker lines on here is because I did put the cobalt over top of the whole thing when I was all done. So this here is the Mayan Sunrise number 2. So you guys can place your bids in the chat box here. But if there's no interest in bidding on this one right now, I can hold this off and put it up on my Facebook or for sale album or something. So if you guys were waiting for this one here, go ahead and place your bids. I'm going to answer a couple questions, and if there's no bids, then I think I might pull this one back out and we'll auction this off another time. Okay. So let me see what questions we have here. Are you going to continue with platonic solids? I have a couple of D&D designs in mind. Oh, let's see. Yes, I will continue with those. They'll probably not be during the live videos. I'll probably do the platonic solids as a separate video because I do need to focus more and kind of explain the details, and that's just a little bit more difficult during the live video. Sometimes, you know, I kind of forget how I folded it in the past, and I have to stop and think about it, and it's hard to do when I got 100 people watching me. So anyways, yes, I will continue with the platonic solids so you can get your Dungeons and Dragons designs done. Instead of soda ash, what about salt and vinegar for rinsing? I don't, the two of those things don't go together. As far as soda ash is something that you do to prep your tapestry or your t-shirt for dyeing, because the soda ash is what actually activates the Procyon dyes to start bonding with the cotton fibers. So, and as you say, is what about salt and vinegar for rinsing? The salt isn't going to do anything for your rinsing, and the vinegar, it's going to neutralize your soda ash. So that is something that if I have a like a red, white, and blue t-shirt and I want to make extra sure that I'm not getting any back staining, I'll do a rinse in the sink, and then I might go ahead and dunk it in a bucket of water, cold water that has a little bit of vinegar in there, just to help neutralize the rest of that soda ash before I start opening it up and doing more rinsing on it. But if you're using Procyon dyes, you can't skip the soda ash. It needs to be, you need to pre-soak before you tie it. You need to tie it and then soak it, or at the very least, you need to tie it, dye it, and then add soda ash on before you batch it. So you can't skip soda ash if you're using Procyon dyes, because almost all of your dyes will just wash right out. And that's no fun, no fun, no fun. Okay. So it looks like we do have some interest. We had a $50 bid from Gwen, a $55 bid from Zach, and then a $60 bid from Gwen. So thank you guys for bidding. We're going to go ahead and leave this one open. Like I say, this one here is the Mayan Sunrise #2. This was the one that I actually tied up during the video, and then I set it aside and I dyed it on Friday. So, but I thought I did pretty good at tying them up fairly close to the same thing there. If you look at both pictures side by side, you'll see what I mean. Okay, so Zach just bid $65 for the Mayan Sunrise #2. I'll go back and answer some more questions. And let's see. Where do you get your cotton tank tops, and where could I get hoodies? I buy my cotton tank tops from sanmar.com. Let me type that in the box for you. But Sanmar is a wholesale company, so you need to have a business license, or at least register your business license with the state in order to sign up with them. But sanmar.com is the place. But I know a lot of dyers, they use jiffyshirts.com. That's another place. You don't need to have any kind of business license. And I think if you order, I think it's $65 worth, then they will give you free shipping. So that's a place. As far as the hoodies, I believe the hoodies could be bought there also. The brand that I use are the Hanes Ultimate Cotton hoodies. They are 90% cotton, 10% polyester, so they dye up really nice. I think most of the polyester is in the lining, so the outer shell, it takes the color really nicely. But they're the Hanes Ultimate Cotton hoodies. And I do believe that you can find them at Jiffy Shirts. All Day Shirts, I think, is another place I've heard dyers use. And I have also ordered the Hanes hoodies direct from Hanes.com. I'm not sure, that was a few years back. I don't know whether they still do that or not, but you can also check with them to see if you can find the hoodies through them. Let me scroll back here. Still have a $65 bid from Zach for the Mayan Sunrise number 2. Okay, let's go back and answer some more questions. And it sounds like Cadence is in the house. He's new here. He's 11 years old and has been asking a lot of great questions. So, yay, go Rainbow Warriors. And thank you for asking all the great questions. Let's see. Any tips on black and white dyes, keeping the white cloth from getting gray? For that, just like when I do my red, white, and blue, one of the things that I recommend is to batch your items for longer. That way, by time you're ready to wash it, the dyes are pretty well spent and they can't backstain. So when you apply your black dye, make sure you're not fully saturating it to leave some white in there. But then also batch it for, I would say, a minimum of 48 hours, and I would add heat. So like I say, I put mine in one of these tubs on a rack, and then I put a lid on this, and I stack this, put this out on the roof in the sun, and it gets really nice and hot in there. So the heat is going to help speed the dye up, and then, of course, the 48 hours. So between the 48 hours and the heat, it's going to set your dyes really nicely, but then it's also going to basically kill the rest of the dye. So when you're doing your rinse out, you don't have as much of a chance of that backstaining. Another thing that you can do is use Synthropol in your wash water. That's going to help because it's going to hold the excess dye suspended in the water. It's a pH neutral soap, so you're not adding pH and possibly reactivating the dyes. I know a lot of dyers, they use the Blue Dawn. I haven't personally used it, but I've heard from so many that I trust that the Blue Dawn works as well as the Synthropol, so you can try that if you don't have Synthropol. The other thing, when you're doing your rinse outs, you want to rinse in cold water for at least a minute or two to make sure that you're washing away all of the soda ash, because once again, the soda ash is what activates the dyes. So as you're releasing excess dyes, you don't want to take a chance that you're reactivating them and letting them go in and backstain. And then one of the other tips I mentioned about the vinegar earlier, you can take a pail of water, add some vinegar to it. I would say, if you fill up the pail with a couple gallons of water, I would say dump a cup of white vinegar into the water, and then after you've done a really good rinse in cold water before you've untied it, then dunk it in that vinegar water, and that will help really make sure that the soda ash is neutralized. And then go ahead and finish rinsing it. Turn your water up to warm and keep rinsing until the water starts to, it doesn't have to be completely clear. That will take a long time. I know there's some people that like them completely clear, but I know I'm going to be doing a wash in the washer 3 times in hot water, so I don't want to kill my hands too much rinsing for too long a time. So as soon as the water starts to look like it's running clear a little bit, I'll go ahead and put it right in the washer. You don't want to set that aside. You want to go straight from the sink right into your washing machine that already has hot water and Synthropol in it. Those are the tips that are going to best make sure that you're not getting any backstaining. So I hope that all makes sense to you. Okay, let me go back over here, see if we got some more bids. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down and check, but right now I see Zach has the high bid at 65, and I'm going to scroll down and see if I spot any other bids in there. And if I've missed somebody's bid, just go ahead and replace the bid. But right now, Zach has the high bid at $65. Oh, and I'm sorry if I didn't mean it, Caden. If I called you anything other than a girl, I apologize. But thank you for being here. I apologize. Actually, I'm blushing a little bit now. Let's see. I don't see any other bids, so Zach still has the high bid here at 65. So I'm gonna jump back over and answer some more questions here. I tried to make a heart tie-dye 2 years ago and it ended up being a bullseye. Any reason why it turned out this way? The only thing that I can figure is that you didn't get your fold all the way. When you're doing the heart design, sometimes with the heart design, if we don't put the little thing down here far enough, sometimes the heart, if you draw it like this here, you can lose that point there. You need to have the point down further. So the easiest way to check to see if you've drawn yourself a decent heart is to start out by drawing it on a piece of paper. So fold your piece of paper in half, draw your half a heart on, and then cut it out and open it up. And if the heart looks wonky at that point, then if you folded that, then that's why it's going to look wonky. But getting this point is the most important thing. So I always will start at that point when I'm folding a heart and just making sure that I'm lining all of my pleats up as I go around here. You want to have your pleats lined up as straight as possible on here. But if when you start pleating around this corner and you pull this point then down out of your fold, then your heart, it's going to kind of round that off, make it more circular rather than having the heart shape. So at the very end, when I'm tying it up, I always make sure that I've moved this pleat over to make sure that it's still lined up with the rest of my pleats there. But that's the best thing that I can say is, without seeing it, is that maybe you just missed that point a little bit, or the point got kind of pulled out when you tied it up. So just a little bit more careful precision on your heart, but also making sure that you've drawn a nice heart. That's why I don't know if I have it right here or not, but yeah, I make myself up a template so that whenever I sit and draw a heart, I know each time I have a nice pattern to fold from. Because if you don't have a good pattern to fold from, then you're not going to get a good design on there. You're just going to dye up whatever you fold. Okay. And I don't see any other bids, so we still have, did I say Zach? I believe I said Zach. Yes, Zach Giro at 65 for the Mayan Sunrise number 2. Okay, so I'm going to answer another couple questions, and then if I don't see any more bids, we're going to start closing this out here. So if you guys want to get in on the bidding, go ahead and place your bids now. Does dipping your tie-dye masterpiece in the ocean actually help keep the color in? I have not heard that. The only thing I can think on that is dipping it in the ocean would mean that you're dipping it in salt water. And I know that salt, when you're doing low water immersion dyeing or vat dyeing, the salt helps to push the dyes out of the water and into the fabric. So that's why, like on my black and my turquoise, although the turquoise, they just say that the salt is supposed to help increase the color of it. But I will add some salt to a couple of my dyes. I don't know if it actually works the same way with liquid dyeing this way here as opposed to doing the vat dye or the low water immersion dyeing. But But that's the only thing that I can imagine that somebody is telling you that is because salt does help push the dyes in. But I don't know that dipping it in the ocean is going to really do anything for you other than dilute everything out. The salt for me is in the dyes at the start, so when you first apply it to the fabric, that's when the dye is pushing, or the salt is possibly pushing the dye further into the fabric. If you're dipping it in the ocean at the beginning, then you are diluting all of your soda ash. And if you're dipping it in at the end, then all of the dye bonding has already happened. So that's all I really have to say. I can't completely bust that, but I'm not seeing that dipping it in the ocean is going to help you in any way. Okay, let me take a peek, see if we have any more bids, and then we're going to start the closing process on this. And thank you, Julie, for doing such a fine job pulling these questions up and putting them over on Facebook for me. It makes reading through them and answering them much easier. Okay, I don't see any other bids on here. So I'm going to start closing this, and if somebody else wants to place the bid, then now is the time to do it. Once again, this here is the Mayan Sunrise. And the high bid right now is at $65 with Zach. So $65 going once. Okay, $65 going twice. $65 going 3 times. And sold to Zach for $65. Congratulations. So I don't know if you have bought one or if you've listened to the directions on how people pay. I will put my, oh, that's not it. Here is my launch links. I'm putting it in the chat box. So you can click on the launch links, and if you want me to send you an invoice, you can just scroll down to the bottom, and I have both of my Facebook pages as well as a link to my store email. You can send me your email address and I will send you an invoice. Your $65 bid plus the $7 shipping brings your total to $72. The other thing you can do, I think midway down, probably like the 5th or 6th link on there, is my PayPal donation link, and you can just go in there and send the $72 to me directly that way. Just make sure that you send me your mailing address so that I can get this to you, and then I will get this signed and in the mail. So congratulations to Zach and Tie-Dyed One on the winning of the 2 tapestries here. And thank you everybody else for bidding. And I'm going to move this just a little bit closer to me now. And let's go ahead and get back over here and answer some more questions. Saucy wants to know if your cuticles are perfectly pushed. Yes, they are. Thank you. See, Vicky asks, do you use distilled water instead of tap water in mixing your dyes? And in a 16-ounce bottle, how much dye do you recommend? Okay, I use regular tap water in mine. I haven't had any issues with hard water or anything like that. I have heard of other dyers that have had issues with that and their colors weren't coming out right, so they switched over to distilled water. So if you're having problems with your colors, that might be one more thing to check. If you have well water or something like that, you can switch over to distilled water to help solve that issue. And the other thing, for a 16-ounce bottle, one of these bottles of dye here, I use 5 to 6 teaspoons of dye for a 16-ounce bottle. Uh, Dharma and I think other places, they recommend the minimum at 4 teaspoons. I like to add just a little bit extra, so I use a tablespoon scooper to scoop my dye with, and that is 3. If you just do it leveled out nice and straight, that's 3 teaspoons, but I have a big heaping scoop of dye. So for one of these bottles I use one big scoop, and I haven't measured it exactly because I am kind of a random guy. I like to make sure I have enough, but I don't need to know that I have an exact amount, if that makes sense. So I just do a big scoop. So my guess is that that extra on top is probably another 2.5 to 3 teaspoons of dye. So that's why I'm guessing that I'm using somewhere between 5 and 6 teaspoons for a 16-ounce bottle of dye. But if I'm making black, then I will use 2 of those. So I'm using then 10 to 12 teaspoons to make black, because it takes way more dye for that. And there's a few other colors, like my red, I will use just a little bit extra. I don't use 10, but I might use like 8 teaspoons for the red. And there's a couple other colors that I can't think of off the top of my head, but in my brain when I'm mixing them, I know how much I want to scoop in there, so that's what I do. Alright, let's see what else we got going on here. Well, I guess Julie's pulling all these questions out, so I'm just going to stick over here and answer more questions while they're here. Oh, it looks like we're just about done with questions. If no kite string is available, what can I use that is stronger than crochet thread? Dental floss is one of the things that I've used. And let me see here. Oh, also in my launch links, I have my frequently asked questions page all the way down at the bottom. And I think I have answered. There was another kind of string that I haven't gotten yet, but somebody else, there it is. Okay. This was a tip passed on by another one of my Rainbow Warriors. They say that this is the kind of string they buy. It's Red Heart Classic crochet thread size 10. They told me that that was working really nice for them. I mean, I've used some other crochet thread. It wasn't quite as strong as the kite string, but I haven't tried this Red Heart out. So that's one thing to try, but also the dental floss. That seems to be a little bit stronger, and you can get the little packs of those pretty cheaply, so I would try those couple things out. Alright, and we're probably going to close this out soon here. It looks like Julie is typing a question right now, so we'll see what she's got. Okay, so how was the tutorial for everybody today? That was, like I say, just kind of a random thing. It's an experiment for me, so we'll see what we get. But I hope you guys found that entertaining, maybe enlightening. Maybe it'll take seeing the results to see that how it came out. But I do love to play with different designs, and sometimes they're just random thoughts that come out of my head, but the only way to know whether it's going to work is to just do it. So that's what I did. Okay, can't wait to see it. It was great. Yep, okay. Let's see here. Can I use sprayed soda ash in a certain area for a stencil with thickened dye? Oh, yes. That's usually when I'm adding thickened dye to something. Sometimes I will tie-dye a shirt. Like this shirt here, I tie-dyed it to start with. And then after it was all completely washed and dried, then I put something in the middle, you know, like a board or something in between. Or sometimes I'll even use this freezer paper and just kind of iron that on the inside. And then I will spray the area that I'm going to add the thickened dye to with the soda ash water. I just kind of spray it to get it kind of damp, and then I let it dry, and then that's when I start my dye painting. I've tried to start painting it when the t-shirt was still just really barely damp, and I noticed that the dye wanted to spread a little bit. So I waited, and this edge, yeah, it looks like I have just a little bit of a fuzzy edge on this one here. But I usually wait until it's completely bone dry, and then I do my dye painting, and then it's a matter of I still put it in one of these tubs to try to keep that damp. But when I'm doing dye painting, I make sure to use the urea in the mixing of my thick water, because the urea is going to help keep things wet longer. And you don't want your thickened dye to dry out before it's sufficiently bonded. So I highly recommend using the urea in your thick dyes when you're dye painting, and when you're done with it, to put it in some sort of a container with a lid, or to cover it up with plastic so it stays damp. And just lightly spraying it with soda ash isn't going to work. I've tried that, and that makes the edges spread also. So the only thing I found that helps keep things wet is the urea. Okay, I have one more question here. Does too much soda ash cause yellowing? That I don't know. I haven't run across that. I do know that the soda ash over time turns yellow, so, but it has never affected the colors of my dye. I think the soda ash, it just, sometimes if you put other colored fabric, sometimes I'll put tan things in, you know, like my pants and stuff. Actually, the pants that I'll be dyeing in a video here later. I think the soda ash kind of takes on some of those colors, or maybe the length of time that you've had the soda ash around. But as far as the end results, I don't know that the soda ash caused anything like that, but I personally don't know that for sure. So it might be something you ask around in some of the other tie-dye communities and see if anybody else has had experience with that. Okay. Well, I think we're going to close up. I don't see any more questions coming through from Julie. Thank you guys for joining me. I hope everybody has a fantastic week. Like I say, I'm going to let my ice dye set up for, well, I'm going to let it melt completely, and then I will batch it for 48 hours, and then of course I will do the, oh, it looks like my mom is leaving. Bye Mom, I love you. Thanks for coming in. I'm going to batch it after the ice melts completely, and then I will do my washout. My ice is done melting. And also, if we have enough heat out there, we certainly have enough heat out there today. Maybe I'll even set that outside so it melts faster. But anyway, then I will do my reveal like I do on Friday. Sometimes, I think even last week, it didn't come out until Saturday. So I apologize for that if you guys were sitting around all day. But sometimes things come up and they don't happen. That's just the way it is. Peace, love, light, and laughter to you all. I hope you all have a fantastic week. I love you all, and I appreciate you being here. You guys have a great day. Enjoy your weekend.